What's happening, y'all? What's happening, vlog? I hope y'all had a good Friday. Had a busy night. Had a busy night tonight. Crazy good day at work again. Had a rough start though. I had a rough start to the day. It wasn't anything work related, but a lot of it was personal. There was a resentment that I had been holding on to for a really long time. And so I probably for about 2 months, and resentment, like it's extremely corroding, to the inner soul. It's extremely corroding, and it starts like affecting like my energy levels, like how much sleep I get at night, how well I sleep at night, I get really reluctant to get out of bed, and it doesn't happen quick. It's very slow, a very slow process. And like I may think in the moment that like I can just not think about it, and like right when it just happened and get some temporary relief, but turns out I never really dealt with it. Whoa. It's thunderstorming like crazy out here, so I want to see if I can get some footage of that, but the reason I'm sitting out here is I do want to record this, but it's kind of funny how we're talking about resentment and it's like thunderstorming outside. But essentially what happened was a little while ago excuse you. There was a dog that was at the dog park, and I was walking Leia on the other side, and the owner's dog, who we haven't had the friendliest of interactions with before, his dog came and jumped over the barrier, came at Leia, came and tried to attack Leia, and in the middle of me getting both of them settled, Leia got free and ended up biting his dog, and so it was just a really it's a scary thing. I've never been, so to be transparent, I've never been on the receiving end of something like that happening to Leia. It's never been on that end, but holy shit. Being on the opposite end, when you know that your dog is that capable of doing those types of things, it's an extremely heart-wrenching and heartbreaking situation. And so, that's just the backstory behind that. There was a whole lot of riffraff and back and forth, and it was a nightmare. But, fast forward a few months, his friends come up to the dog park when I'm at the dog park with her, and they start defending their friend, and they essentially tell me that I'm not allowed there and that I don't have permission and that all these other things. And I cleared it. I did my part and I cleared it with the complex, so I knew I had permission to be there. But what I failed to realize was that and it ended up being a really nasty argument. It was between this man and his wife, or I believe to be his wife or his girlfriend. And I remember saying, I remember defending myself, but it was a nasty argument. And I'm not used to those type of altercations. I can't stand shit like that. And it felt like it was so unwarranted and so uncalled for. But I felt extremely justified because I had permission from the complex to take her there. I did a lot of training. I did a lot of, crossing T's, dotting I's with her. But, she's still very aggressive towards other dogs. And one of the things I'm trying to say is that just because we have permission to do things doesn't mean it's the right thing to still continue to do. And so I held on to that resentment for a long time because I was really unwilling to see the truth. That Leia... I can't take Leia to the dog park anymore, and I have permission to, but me taking her there, what I learned through this resentment, the reason why I held on to it and the reason why I had such a strong reaction was because it disturbed something in me I didn't want to look at. I felt very entitled to, I pay rent, I deserve to take her there. She's my dog and she needs to run and she's got a lot of energy. And what I got to take a look at was that I use that as an excuse because, I have been training her, but there hasn't been as much effort that I've been putting into it. It's almost like I use that as like an excuse to allow her to run, when the reality is I could be a lot more involved in our walks and take her on a lot more walks or longer walks, because there's a lot of work to be done with her. And so that like hit me really hard. I got pretty emotional from it, when I read that, and when I spoke with a good friend of my sponsor, and that was a tough pill to swallow. And it took me a while. Like I probably sat in my shit for probably a good couple hours. And so, but when I came to and I started to realize, when I started to like allow the emotion to subside and allow myself to walk through that, there was a lot of good freedom that came from that, because I haven't been taking care of myself when it comes to exercising, and so it was suggested that maybe take her on longer walks, find places to go with her where there's no other dogs. And it felt really good. I'm like, oh cool, man, I not only do I get to participate in her walks a lot more, but I get to but I get a lot of exercise out of it too, because she's a strong girl and it's a lot of work. And it was really cool. I actually had a phenomenal experience with that, and I'm learning that with her, as much as I love her and she's got me wrapped around her paw, the relationship that I have is almost like her friend, and I've been up until this point, it's like she's been my best friend, which is not a bad thing. However, if I'm trying to teach her and be a role model or an example, I have to show that, because until really technically today, I've been an equal to her. And it's not saying I'm better than her, but there is, like, she listens to me sometimes, but not all the time, and she picks and chooses, and there just needs to be a lot more structure and a lot more guidance and a lot more discipline, and so I gotta allow her to do her thing, but I have to set the parameters, and I'm the one who's in charge of setting the boundaries, because one thing about her is that I'm not gonna fail her. Like, that's the one thing that I refuse to do. And I felt ashamed of myself for having the thought, like I had the thought, like, well, you could give her up, and it like that, every time that thought comes up, like, it makes me sick to my stomach, because that's just like me copping out, and giving up and like taking the easy road out. Because I won't lie, like, that thought's happened before, and it kills me, because I love this dog so much, and I just kept wondering what's the solution. And the solution starts with me. The solution starts with me playing a bigger role in her life than I currently am. And it's scary, because like I the thing that keeps coming up is there's a lack of confidence within my own ability to teach someone, to guide, to lead. And I noticed it first with where did I notice it first? Oh, a lot of with the content creation. That's where it first came. It's where it started to really crop up. Showed up with my family around not being able to trust my own opinion and stand on my own 2 feet. With my dog, how I'm never able to fully discipline her, how she's just my friend, personal relationships with women, with a lot of other things, and so it's weird how it's all like, this is, I'm learning how to like become my own person in every area of my life. Like, I'm like with my family, I'm learning how to allow God to mold the relationship to what it's supposed to be with me and my mother. And I had so much fear about calling her the other day, but it went really well, and I think I mentioned that earlier. Same thing, I have a fear of like not like pleasing her, Leia, at every moment. Like making sure like I'm always talking to her or looking at her or talking to her and being involved in every little moment. It's like she's got to have her own space too, and I'm learning like that, like my message is actually valuable, and there's, and I actually have a story to tell. Oh, and For actually, you know what? Scratch that. The first piece I noticed where I didn't feel like I was making any difference was with my recovery program and with the guys that I work with. You know, I felt inadequate. I felt like I didn't know what to do. And it's like I've been sober for like 6.5 years. Like I just do what people have done for me. That's it. You know, and I just don't know why I felt that. But it's funny how when that part changes, when that realization changes, all the rest of the areas start to follow. Or fall in line, or like sync up, if you will. You know, it's just it's a cool feeling, man. It's a really cool feeling. So, I know I went on like a 10-minute ramble with that, but that's a lot of what my day was, and a lot of freedom, and a lot of like, I don't know. I feel like I'm starting over, but on like such a more confident footing. I feel like the 2 years when I started this content creation journey up to this point, like, I don't regret going through it. I absolutely needed to go through it because I wouldn't possess the confidence or the knowledge or the experience that I do today. And all three of those things make up who the person is sitting in this chair and talking to you right now. You know, and it started with overcoming the doubt that God could handle everything else that I was doing in my life, and I was actually able to participate in everything I was doing, and how limiting my imagination is, and how limiting the mind is, how it's like I'm doing all these things, I can't participate in all of them all the time. It's like, that's bullshit. You know, when I participate in my recovery, and when I participate in the solution that has got me to this point and will continue to get me to this to where I'm supposed to be, everything else just falls into fucking place. You know, and it's always been like that. But the more I progress and the more I accomplish and the more experience I gain, the greater that doubt becomes, that like all of a sudden this is not something that God can handle. So it's been cool. Like I wrote like an actual set of to-dos this weekend that are actually obtainable. Because in the past I would just write down like 10 things and it's like, there's no way I'm going to get all that shit done this weekend, not with the rest of my responsibilities. So I actually wrote like 5 things down, I think 5 or 6 things, you know. But it's awesome though, you know. Video, second Halo 5 montage came out. That's awesome. You know, I'm figuring out how to link other videos in my YouTube channel. The vlog's getting really good reviews, you know, or really good comments, online and offline, you know. And I don't know. It's just it's a really cool feeling. You know, I can't really describe it. I feel like I'm in a really good spot. You know, it's not to confuse it with like I got it figured out, but I'm in a really good spot. I feel like my ego's taken down a few notches, and I feel like I'm on solid footing. I feel like I'm starting to actually enjoy the process. Not that I didn't enjoy it before, but I didn't realize, there was still some doubt on whether it was going to be worth it or not. And to be fair, there still is a little bit of doubt, but there's a lot more confidence. There's a lot more drive, and a lot more experience that proves that this is exactly where I'm supposed to be, and that you don't just go from nothing to everything in a day, or even a year, or even 2 years. Shit takes time, and like being able to appreciate the process. I feel like I never knew what the fuck Gary Vee was talking about when he said that, but I feel like I'm actually starting to appreciate it now. And no matter what people say, no matter what the positive reviews are, like, it's really cool. So I'm just happy to share this story with you. You know, I'm happy to share my life in a fucking 730 square foot apartment. That was another limiting belief that wasn't possible. So that being said, you know, I'm kind of running out of storage on this card. I got about half left. I don't want to bog it too much down because I got a lot to upload this weekend. So you know, so one of the goals is to see if I can upload 2 sets of vlogs. That way I can catch up 2 weeks in 2 videos and I can start preparing this past week because I filmed a lot and I got about, I don't know, like 20 videos on here. You know, this one's in like 2.7K, super wide, 60 frames per second, so this one's going to take a little while. I may just make this one a single video, to tell you the truth. That's probably what I'll do. You know, so with that being said, I'm going to enjoy this night. I got a podcast tomorrow. I got to write some questions down. And yeah, man, I'll see you all tomorrow. Peace.